Good day, everyone. This is your teacher, Miss Mars, and on today's video lecture, I am going to talk about our last unit for our subject, stylistics and discourse analysis. And of course, that is unit 4. We look into linguistic stylistics and discourse analysis. Basically, our focus here is discourse analysis. So I know you all are ready. Thus, without further ado, let's begin. Allow me this time to share my PowerPoint presentation to you. Okay, so now you already see my PowerPoint presentation. So as what I have said, it's all about Unit 4 this time, linguistic stylistics and discourse analysis. Basically, our focus here is our discourse analysis. And it is composed of 5 lessons. Lesson 1 is a definition of discourse analysis. Lesson 2 would be genre analysis. Lesson 3 is coherence and cohesion. This has been a topic that was, of course, discussed also when we say coherence and cohesion. Lesson 4 would be focusing on transcription, and the lesson 5 would be we will be looking into some discourse studies in a classroom, just for us to be exposed or have an awareness on how to conduct a research or discourse research studies. So this time, let's start with our lesson 1, which is what is discourse analysis. Now, here we will be focusing on the definition of DA or discourse analysis. It is a broad field of study that draws some of its theories and methods of analysis from disciplines such as linguistics, sociology. It also covers about the philosophy and the psychology. In this subject, we are going to look into models and methods of engaging issues that definitely emanate from disciplines such as the education, cultural studies, and communication. So it is a very broad field of study as defined in the first part. Now, to give us more details about DA or discourse analysis, let us watch this video.
Discourse analysis, DA, or discourse studies, is a general term for a number of approaches to analyze written, vocal, or sign language use, or any significant semiotic event. The objects of discourse analysis, discourse, writing, conversation, communicative event, are variously defined in terms of coherent sequences of sentences, propositions, speech, or turns at talk. Contrary to much of traditional linguistics, discourse analysts not only study language use beyond the sentence boundary, but also prefer to analyze naturally occurring language use, and not invented examples. Text linguistics is a closely related field. The essential difference between discourse analysis and text linguistics is that discourse analysis aims at revealing socio-psychological characteristics of a person/persons rather than text structure. Discourse analysis has been taken up in a variety of social science disciplines, including linguistics, education, sociology, anthropology, social work, cognitive psychology, social psychology, area studies, cultural studies, international relations, human geography, communication studies, and translation studies, each of which is subject to its own assumptions, dimensions of analysis, and methodologies.
So if you notice, class, here in the definition given on the video, in this part of the video, that it definitely, when we say DA, it covers the analysis not only of the written, but at the same time vocal, and it even includes as well the sign language, how these things are used. And we also look into a significant semiotic event. So, discourse analysis does not only focus on the discourse, but at the same time, the writing, even conversation and communicative event. It doesn't have to be we focus on the invented text or those kind of examples that are only written for the purpose of example, but we look into here the occurrence of actual language use. So, how it is being used in a discourse, in a conversation, perhaps, we can use discourse analysis. So that's why the last part of this unit, we are going to look into some research studies or some discourse studies so that you will have an idea on how linguists or researchers try to analyze, no, or use it in the context of education or the classroom. So it definitely has been taken up in a variety of social science disciplines, and that includes linguistics, education, sociology, anthropology, social work, and a lot more. So there are a lot of social science disciplines. And here we tend to actually reveal, no, the social psychological characteristics of a person or a person's rather than looking into the text structure itself. So at the end of the discourse analysis, there is some kind of um, very meaningful output or outcome that we could look into because we can reveal a specific characteristic of a person here, and that is his or her social psychological characteristic. So let's continue. So this is the end of the video, and it basically just gives us an idea what discourse analysis is, and how the term is being described or defined, and at the same time, how could we possibly pronounce or how do we pronounce it correctly? So let's proceed. So discourse analysis, it was first used by the sentence linguist Zellig Harris, and that was in the year 1952 and the article entitled Discourse Analysis. And according to him, so this is Zellig Harris here. According to him, discourse analysis, it's actually a method, no, for the analysis of connected speech or writing. So if we are going to analyze basically, especially connected speech or writing, we are going to look into and use the method discourse analysis for continuing descriptive linguistics beyond the limit of a simple sentence at a time. So that is according to Harris in 1952. So in the discourse analysis, we focus on the three parts here. The first is codifying. So this is the speaker and this is the receiver. The speaker or the one who gives a message or input. Well, this one is the one who decodes it. So the speaker has to codify it. No, for example, the speaker wanted to say or to describe about the tree. So the second portion is there is a medium, no, or the process of sending the message, and the last portion or the last level would be decodifying, and this is now in the level of the receiver or the listener, and the listener here should also be able to decode it as a tree, no. So that is what is being codified by the speaker. It's a tree. This is what he wants to communicate. So the message will be sent, and that is step 2. And the step 3 here is decodifying. No, thus the listener or the receiver of the message also receives it the way it should. It is inputted by the speaker. So that's the goal. So this is how discourse analysis works. And that's according to Zellig Harris, that it is a method for the analysis of connected speech or writing. Next, let's proceed. Discourse analysis, it evolved from works and different disciplines. So it already existed even before, like during the 1960s and even in the early 1970s. And it includes linguistics. We also look into semiotics, the anthropology, psychology, and at the same time, the sociology, area. So these are things that we look into if we study language as well. So the semiotic here, it's a general philosophical theory of signs and symbols that deals especially with their function in both artificially constructed and natural languages, and comprises syntactics, semantics, and pragmatics. So these are the symbols. So that's why we also deal with the study of it, no? The theory of signs and symbols. And then we do have the anthropology, the psychology, and the psychology, which sociology rather, which I know you already knew what are these things. And some of the scholars and the works that either gave birth to or helped actually in the development of discourse analysis, we have here J.L. Austin, whose How to Do Things with Words that was in 1962 introduced the popular social theory or popular social theory or the speech act theory. So this is the book, and this is written by J.L. Austin. And John Searle, who happened also to be a really famous, no, and he also developed and improved the work of Austin. So they are the ones even famous with cohesive devices. So sila sadni, no, cohesion and the likes. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, you need to acquire the skills of writing and speaking that make for candor, rigor, and at the same time clarity. So these are the things we have to consider why we communicate. And you cannot think clearly if you cannot speak and write clearly. So that's why that's according to John Searle, which is definitely correct or which is definitely true, no? And the linguistic philosopher Michael Halliday, or MAK, with the initials of MAK Halliday, greatly influenced the linguistic properties or discourses. And in the 1970s, he provided sufficient framework for the consideration of the functional approach to language. So Michael Halliday, from 1925 to 2018, he's a British linguist, he's a teacher, and obviously we have already probably explored a little bit about him in the previous unit. He is the proponent of systemic functional linguistics, which happened to have also a huge or a contribution in the development of stylistics if we look into the history of stylistics. And um, Paul Grice, okay, which we already discussed in the previous unit, and Halliday in 1978 were also influential in the study of language, a social action reflected in the formulation of what is called as the conversational maxims or the cooperative principles according to Paul Grice, and the emergence of the social semiotics. So we have the signs and the symbols that is being recognized by the society, no? So Grice maxims redacted, according to him, do not say what you don't believe. Do not say what you can't provide or defend. Make your comments meaningful. Do not give more information than is required. Be relevant and be specific. So these are the things that, according to Grice, really have to be considered by speakers or by people involved in a conversation in order for the conversation to be successful. And through this, we could say that there is a cooperation, no, among the people involved in the conversation. Next, the work of Sinclair and Colt- Coulthard in 1975 also developed a model for the description of teacher-pupil talk, no, like subclass of exchange, the structures, the function of exchange. So this is like teacher inform and to convey information to the pupils. So teacher direct to elicit a nonverbal response from the pupils. And how would teacher would elicit is to elicit a verbal response from a pupil. You can do check to discover how well students are getting on and identify any problems. And this time around, the pupil here, P elicit or pupil elicit, to elicit a verbal response from the teacher. Then pupil inform to convey also information to the teacher. So here there is a description of teacher-pupil talk, and through this there would be cooperation and successful or meaningful conversation between the teacher and the student or the pupil. So that's it for our definition of discourse analysis. Basically, the reason because discourse analysis pretty much also um, really connected with stylistics, And in fact, we'll look into here language as well, no? And later on in the next lesson, we are going to talk about genre analysis. So, class, thank you very much for viewing or listening to our lecture today. And I hope you learn a thing or two. And I will definitely see you on the next video lecture. That would be lesson 2. So bye everyone. See you all next time. Keep safe and God bless us all.